All right, welcome this morning. Appreciate you guys for logging in here and being a part of this webinar with us. Today we're going to be jumping into some pretty cool subjects and having really cool guests later on today that's going to help us out. Evan Longoria is going to be on the call later today. But to kind of start this all off and get you guys prefaced on kind of how this will roll through, as everybody's logging in here, you'll see on your screen, we're going to have a deck that's going to kind of walk you through some of the key points. And on the right side of the screen, we'll have a comment box, and we want to hear your questions today. So feel free to, if you have a question today, click on the button there that's the question mark and mark it as a question and throw it into the comment box there, and we will definitely get to it today at the end of the session through a Q&A portion of this. So appreciate it. As everybody's logging in, we'll let everybody kind of get in, seeing it kind of fill up at this point, so pretty cool. But as we're going through that, I'll jump in and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Walt Nolan. I'm the Diamond Sports Category Manager here at Skills. I've been here for a little over a year and just really excited about kind of where this company is going. A little more background on myself. I come from a baseball background. You know, I think that, you know, if you're built into baseball, that it's just kind of part of your DNA. I started playing as a young guy, got an opportunity to play at a really great high school that won state championships and has been winning national championships as a late Barb High School. Got to go to a pretty awesome university that was on the rise, McNeese State at that point, and we were in the top 25 and got to work with two amazing coaches there named Todd Butler, who is at Wichita State, and Mike Bianco, who is at Ole Miss. I really got to learn a lot from those guys and understand a little bit more about how to prepare myself as an athlete. And you know, that really led to a really awesome experience for me where I got the opportunity to play in the Chicago Cubs organization and become a professional pitcher and actually got an opportunity to do that longer than I played in high school, which was really cool. So did that for about 5.5, 6 years and really started to grow as an athlete there. So, you know, coming out of that experience and having the opportunity to put on a Cubs uniform was really cool and be around a lot of players and start to understand what it takes to be successful. So after that, I got an opportunity to start my own business and did that for several years and then moved over to Skills here last year where we really sat down and said, you know, what does it take to be, you know, an elite level athlete? And what does that really, you know, from a time commitment standpoint, from a content standpoint of how do you do that? What does that really look like? And then how can we help facilitate that message and provide product and content to really educate players and coaches and parents on how to do this a little bit more efficiently. So kind of today we're going to jump into that and you know, really lead that into Evan and really kind of talk to Evan a lot more about, you know, what he does and how he prepares, and then how do you as a parent and a coach and a player you know, do this in a really effective and efficient way. So we have pretty much 3 bullet points we want to talk to at this stage and really kind of set the table as we walk into the conversation with Evan, and then secondly as we kind of walk into the Q&A section later on. But number one, you know, I think this is really important, and you know, we'll kind of talk through this a good bit. But number one is like, are you training, right? So we really hope that as a parent and as a player and as a coach, you're making the training portion of what you do and your schedule, you know, one of the most important portions of that. You know, we look at it as almost broken up into 3 sections. You got games, you got practices, where both of those are more about skill set, right? So in the games, you've got the ability to you have to put up numbers, otherwise you don't play. In practice, you're looking at it and you've got the ability to really be more focused on the skill set portion of that. So you taking ground balls, throwing bullpens, long tossing, you know, hitting off tee work is really important. And then the third one that we've looked at, and it's really kind of this definitive space, is training. So that would be, you know, agility work. It would be preparing your body to just be ready to do what you need to do on the baseball field, not from a skill set portion, but just being durable and having the ability to go out and just execute the skills that you need to be effective, right? So those are the 2 things we look at. And the real benefits of training at this point, and the answer to are you training right should be totally yes, is it's going to make you a better player at the end of the day. You're going to be prepared. Your body's going to be durable. It's going to be about injury prevention at that point. You know, going into Tommy John, we know that's an epidemic at this point. We know that guys are having that more and they're having it earlier. We know ACLs are breaking down faster just due to the fact that your body's being put in situations that are a lot more competitive at this point, and secondly, just the seasons are a lot longer, and guys are breaking down and they're not preparing enough. So, are you training? The number one, the answer to that should totally be just yes. So, number two, the second kind of the preface to the are you training? Yes. Where are you getting your information? So, number two is like who's leading your training, right? What we've seen is there's no clear leader out there in the sense that you can go to a space and you can go to a place, you can find the information that you need. It's really condensed and really concise and really to the point. So majority of guys or players are going out and parents are having to look for a source that can give them information and kind of fill that gap of what needs to be done to be prepared to play baseball, at this point year round. So, we really started looking around and starting to understand that space a little bit more and found that was definitely a gap. And as you talk, as we go in from an Evan standpoint and we go into the conversation we're going to have with him, we'll dive deeper into that. But having the conversation, just between friends a lot, and we talk about this, is that, as Evan is a young guy and I as a young guy being professional guys that we're really hoping to get to the next level, you kind of had to piecemeal a lot of this information together and pull it together on your own and start to build your own profile. Well, today's day and age, there's the ability to start to get on the internet and get to YouTube and get to a lot of these videos. And you want to know that the information, again, is really credible first. And then secondly, it's going to be effective and really help your athlete get better. So as a parent, I'd say that was one thing that we want to really make sure that you have the ability to go out and find the information. If you're not in baseball from a day-to-day aspect, we know coaches are, but from a parent, from a day-to-day aspect, can really go out there and educate yourself efficiently so you know that your athlete is getting the most out of that and is getting great training. So, looking at that, number one is, are you training? We hope yes. If you're not, you better be. Number two, who's leading your training? We want to make sure that everybody is aware that there is, an opportunity to find information that's really, pertinent to what you're doing and it's available. And we're hoping that we can help start to guide people in the sense that, we can be someone that can really educate you in a good way. Number three is why are you training, right? So kind of tying the first two, are you training? Yes. Who's leading your training? We hope we can help fill that gap and really educate there, but why? So this all leads back right to better in-game experience. You do all this training and you don't get the opportunity to actually execute on the field, then you don't get to use your training as much. But, we've kind of come in here and started to educate a lot of folks on, from a baseball perspective, what is really looked at. So you're looking at the 5 tools, right? Coaches are aware of this. Scouts are aware of this. Every player is judged on that as they get older. And what are those 5 tools, right? So it's hitting for power, hitting for average, fielding, throwing, and running, right? So those are kind of built on 3, I'd say, pillars at this point is speed, and strength and power, right? So we really looked at those 3 spaces and said those are the 3 things that really can turn an average athlete into a better athlete, but also just make them more prepared for what they need to do in an in-game setting, which would lead to better stats, which hopefully would lead to more opportunity to continue playing, and then, get to the spaces that you want to really get to and those types of things. So kind of setting the stage there, those 3, Evan's got a pretty strict schedule right now, and we really want to make sure that we get all the time we can with him, and then we can definitely jump into this after the call. So right now we're going to really log into Skype real quick on our side. We're going to get Evan situated up, and we're going to jump into this call and really kind of discuss what's going on in the world today with Evan. So let us get it. Evan, good morning. How are you?
Trying to get it on speakerphone. Hold on a second. There we go. Can you hear me?
Cool. Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning. We're really excited to have you on board. We wanted to just kind of fill our audience in a little bit about who you are. I know we got some folks on the line who are excited to have you be a part of this today. But we got about 5 questions today. I just want to talk to you, and we've been talking a whole lot this morning about training and kind of what we do, as athletes, and specifically kind of with your background. I just kind of want to dive in on what you felt from a training perspective has really made you so successful. So just give our audience a little bit of a background on you and kind of where you came from, your story. I know you got a great story, but we want to hear it kind of straight from you. So if you wouldn't mind just filling us in on that, we'd appreciate it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Well, my name's Evan Longoria. I play third base for the Tampa Bay Rays. I was born and raised in Southern California, so from a baseball standpoint, I kind of had a head start, I guess, because of the atmosphere, the weather. Baseball is year round there, so we were pretty lucky. I didn't know that at the time, but now looking back, where the weather is good, a lot of good baseball players come from, and that's not to say that they all come from there. Obviously, baseball's all walks of life, but it was a little bit of a head start. Just loved playing the game, loved just learning and growing. And I went to St. John Bosco High School, played 4 years of baseball there. Didn't get a scholarship offer out of there for a Division I school, so ended up going to a junior college, Rio Hondo Junior College in Whittier, California. And I had a really good coach there by the name of Mike Salazar, who was probably the start of my journey to where I am now. He just kind of pushed us every day, and it was a smaller program, and I had never really had a taste of what it meant to be pushed by a coach at a little bit higher level. And so he kind of instilled the weights training and cardiovascular program in us, and just kept after us every day. And so that kind of got the work ethic started, and was lucky enough to go to Long Beach State after that for 2 years. And that just continued. That work ethic just continued to grow there. We lifted weights 3 days a week. I think at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 or something crazy.
That's always fun.
It was the only time really that we could get everybody there before classes started. So we all got there. They had a specific workout routine that they had set up for us. It was kind of just alternating. Mostly legs and then some core and upper body on different days, but I don't remember exactly specifically what we did, but I know that it was miserable getting up that early. Now I would say moving forward now I kind of set my own times that I go work out. I don't really like to work out at 6 in the morning anymore.
That's awesome, man.
But and then then just I got drafted out of there, worked my way up to the minor leagues, and here I am now.
Yeah, man. No, and I think that majority of us are very well aware and appreciate the background kind of update. Just certain people, know your story and some people don't. I just think it's such an awesome story to talk about, just perseverance and, hearing your story over the last year and from you specifically has been really good. And, getting to tell that story from my perspective to other people about your work ethic and the amount of time and effort that you're putting into training and how focused and consistent you are. It's such a good story to tell, younger athletes and parents and coaches. So I just wanted to, give everybody a little background, kind of straight from you to kind of set the table. But you answered, we had 5 questions that I wanted to talk to you about today, but you answered a couple. Just say, what was your training regime like when you were a younger athlete? I know, and today we talk about, tournament team athletes and the amount of games those guys are playing, those things. And I was talking to Dr. James Andrews the other day, and he was giving me a kind of a standpoint from him, saying athletes that are playing this many games at 80 games are not training young. And I said, well, it's just a different world in the sense that when we were in high school, you played 35 games in high school, you played 15 American Legion games, and then you were kind of done for the summer. You maybe moved to a new sport. What was it like for you? High school, I'd say not Little League, but definitely high school, and definitely coming out of that. What was your training regime like, and were you playing other sports as a young guy?
Yeah, I didn't have. I mean, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with saying, we played 30 or 35 games, whatever it was, in the regular season for high school ball, and then after that, it wasn't until probably my senior year in high school where I actually played an extensive, I guess, summer ball program or whatever you want, winter ball, whatever it would be. another extensive amount of games outside of the high school season. I think I probably played maybe another 20 games. So 50, 55 games in a year was the most that I had ever played in high school, and that was in my senior year. But as far as training goes, I did what was asked and what was required for the team, during the season. And for 2 years, my sophomore and junior year, I actually played water polo when I was in high school. So that was, that game's a great workout in itself. But
yeah.
I wasn't, I wasn't training for baseball, or I wasn't playing any kind of extra baseball at that time. And I think that's one of the things that is so much different about today. And I think one of the things that people I don't know. I think that some kids are just a little bit misguided in that respect. That now it's like you have to play baseball year round, and if you don't, you're getting behind and you're missing out. And, I really think that, and I'm sure Dr. Andrews would echo my sentiment in saying that it's probably the leading cause of injury. Obviously, it's just playing too much baseball, putting too much stress on young bodies when they're not ready to handle that workload.
No, sure. I mean, we had a great discussion just about that, and we're talking about they have pretty strict guidelines now from the pitching perspective, and he told me in the answer that we got from him, and not to utilize his answer on our side, he was like, if you make a decision to go out and actually play year round now, he said it didn't happen before. He goes, you have to train like a big leaguer to be ready for those games, and these guys have to understand that, and these parents have to understand that. And it was an interesting question. It was an interesting answer. I wasn't expecting to get that answer. He said, you really need to train like a big league guy, and he goes, in some instances, I don't think that's great. So, but yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I agree with you. So I think that's a great answer. Kind of going forward, though, I think that getting, kind of prefacing all that and where you come from, but as you got into the big leagues and got into pro ball, what's been the major difference in the change in your training, regime, and why has it been so important for you as an athlete?
Well, the major change, I think, is just when I was in college, like I said, we would weight train 3 days a week, and it was a lot of strengthening stuff, lifting weights and doing squats and doing power cleans and stuff that really, honestly, now in pro ball and now is pretty irrelevant for a lot of guys. I mean, what you see now, especially at the point of the season that we're at now, it's just about maintenance. It's just about keeping your body, one, feeling as good as it can on any given day, and just trying to maintain the strength that you had coming into the season. So obviously, you're not going to feel as strong as you did on day one, and on day, whatever we're at, 105 or whatever it is. But it really is just about knowing. I mean, and it's been a process for me from my first year until now on what I really need to get myself ready and to maintain that strength. And so for me, I do a lot of band work. Our training staff, they have a shoulder elbow program that we do with basically like a TheraBand, and I do kind of my legs with that too. And then we have another little leg and core workout that basically is a lot of body weight stuff, to be honest with you. I mean, for me, I'm just playing every day. I'm just way too tired to actually like lift heavy weights and then go out there and play the next day. It wouldn't be the best thing for my body, because I'd be too sore, and then I'd end up going out and probably injuring something just because of muscle fatigue.
Cool. Well, no, I appreciate it. That's definitely it's insight, because you hear A lot of different adages about this to kind of get the insight of what you guys are actually doing from a day-to-day standpoint. You think about 105 games of getting up and playing every day and what your body's going through. And, everybody sees the SportsCenter highlights of, the home runs and the diving catches, but they don't understand that you got to get up the next morning and do it again, right? And
Well, I think the one thing that obviously needs to be said there is, we're very lucky to do what we do, and obviously I enjoy what I do immensely. But there are some things, there are some sacrifices to be made to get here, and it's not, I will say that it is, there is obviously, if you want to say quote unquote some glitz and glamour to it, but the reason why there is up here at the big league level is because even at the AAA level, it's not like that.
Right.
There's a long, long road to get to this top level, and the cliche saying is it's easy to get to the big leagues, but it's not easy to stay. And so, I think the average lifespan of a big league career is 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, and they go really fast. And you got to try to figure out in those first couple years what you're doing to make yourself successful, and what you're experiencing with your body, and how, if you are having success, what you can take from those moments to continue to use those down the line, and what, if anything, is not working, and what is hindering you from performing at your peak level, and remove those from your daily work, and continue to try and find things that every day can make you a little bit better.
Awesome, man. No, I think that hearing from you, and kind of understanding a little bit about the process, but never from your perspective. That I think you're 7 or 8 years now into your big league career, and just been really successful, and just been very consistent, and that's been really fun to watch. And from a playing perspective, I think that everybody doesn't understand the sacrifices that it takes to just stay there and just keep hitting and keep playing third base at the level that you're playing, and then the toll that it takes on your body in certain instances. And it's really good to hear that. But last question I got for you today, and we'll let you go, man. We understand that you're kind of jumped out of batting practice and in the middle of some things, so we really appreciate the time today. But what advice would you give the athletes, who are younger, high school guys who are trying to get to college or get JUCO scholarships? What training? I mean, how diligent they need to be in their training, and from the training perspective, what do you recommend them doing to get themselves better?
I mean, honestly, I think that the best thing that players, young players can do is continue to just try and get better every day at the baseball stuff, and learning how to play the game fundamentally, because the game is now, I think we see it reverting back more towards the solid fundamental players are getting more opportunities. You don't see too many guys that are hitting 50 and 60 home runs. I think the offense is taking a step back, but it's more the game has changed a little bit, and those guys, I think, are becoming more and more valuable, and the players that know how to play the game the right way, that go out and play the game hard and understand how to play the game, are the ones that are getting more and more opportunities. And so just when you get your opportunities to work, however many days a week it is, wherever you're playing, make sure you're putting a big importance on that time you're spending taking ground balls, or hitting in a cage, or hitting live on the field. And from a training perspective, I found the best results with the explosive plyometric work, and the movement prep and explosive running type stuff, because now, I mean, we have, I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm sure every kid that watches SportsCenter has seen it, the StatCast thing that they have now on ESPN or MLB Network or whatever it is. That's, that all that is a gauge to see, how good people are moving movement prep and explosive running stuff is that's all that is for. That transfers directly into what you see on StatCast. And so if you learn how to move efficiently in your own shoes, that's going to transfer onto the field, and you've seen better results in what we call advanced metrics, but basically what StatCast shows.
Sure. No, that's probably one of the better answers I've ever heard of that question, actually. So, well, man, no, we've had you on for about 20 minutes here, so I really appreciate the time, and we all appreciate the time this morning or this afternoon, and really want to say thank you for taking some time out of your day to give us your insight on a couple of these questions, man. So we're going to go ahead and let you go and transfer back into our Q&A section, I believe, today, and we'll kind of move forward from there. So, Evan, thank you so much, man. Good luck for the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, well, thank you, man.
All right, great. I think we just had an amazing conversation with Evan, and it really kind of filled some of the gaps, and he gave us better understanding of what he's had and what it's really taken to be a professional athlete, and a three-time All-Star out there. What that really brought up is everybody has their own training at this point, and guys and players and coaches and parents are really looking for an opportunity to pull some of these things together and just be more efficient and effective in their training today. So over the past year, with Evan's help and a lot of professional players help and a lot of coaches and personal trainers, we got the ability to aggregate a lot of data and sat down and said there's a hole in the marketplace for parents and athletes and coaches that we feel we can do a good job of curating to develop a really cool program. So with that, over the past year, we had the opportunity to begin to develop Baseball Strong. So Baseball Strong is what we'll talk about here for a couple of seconds. It's a 9-week program. It's 3 weeks long, and each session is about 30 minutes. And what you're doing is you're training with professional athletes, and it's really helping fill some of the gap from the informational standpoint for the parents and the players who may not have the ability to go out and get personal training or have the right tools to begin to do that. So what is Baseball Strong, right? I'll kind of jump into that and say, from an athlete perspective, it's a great program that's going to help you get better and get prepared for the baseball season coming up. It's built off proven methodology, and it's built with our partner Exos. If you guys aren't familiar with Exos, I would really appreciate it if you'd Google those. It's EXOS, and get a little more insight on what they do. They train, I'd say pretty much a lot of the guys that you see on TV really having a lot of success at this point. Major League All-Stars, World Series champions. A lot of guys who've got a lot of rings out there, which is really cool. They're training those guys in the offseason and getting them ready. The program, Baseball Strong, is very specific for baseball players. It's built with the methodology of what do baseball guys need to do to make sure that they are absolutely prepared from a kinesiology and a physiological standpoint to be ready to go on the field and maximize their tool set. So along with the content that we're giving you and the methodology that we're giving you at the end of the day, this program also comes with tool sets. So it also comes with the tools that really gives you everything that you need to be effective with this program and get the most out of it. So the cool things, again, the three things that's built into Baseball Strong is it's got the methodology, it's got the tools, and it's got the ability that we touched on. You can be training with big league guys. Evan's in this program. Will Venable's in this program. If you're familiar with Will's probably one of the most versatile players in the big leagues. Every day he's just, grinding it out, man. He's pretty much a 5-tool player, in my opinion. He knows what he's doing on the field. And then we've got Eric Young Jr., who's probably one of the most perennial base stealers in the big leagues over the last 5 years. So we pulled those guys in who work specifically with Exos and said, what are you guys doing to get better? And what is Exos really prescribing you? So built the program with those guys and all of their input on, what are you doing and how would this help you in season with all the work you're doing outside of season. So that really kind of sums up a little bit of what the program is, and kind of jumping into it before we go into the Q&A section, really answering all the questions that you've left out there. If you get if the ability to buy this is going to be part of today's deal. So because you've logged in today and because you've been part of this webinar, we're going to extend a pretty cool I'd say incentive program for you. We're going to offer you 15% off of the deluxe kit today, which is normally $179. We're going to offer you free shipping on the program. And the first customers to come in and get the program are also going to get a $50. The first 50 are going to get AccuRollers, which is a product that sits in our performance line. So if you look at what's offered today, if you purchase the program, it's about $80 in benefits, which is really, really cool. So all that said and done, we're going to jump into the Q&A section, really answer some of the questions, but I'll just kind of hit on some of the cool portions that, again, are available in the program. Is that you're training with professional athletes, which is, really cool. Secondly, you're getting proven methodology with Exos that's been developing this over the past 10 to 15 years and dialing in for baseball guys of what you really need. And then you're getting all the tools. So it's pretty much a 360 program that gives you everything you need to really be effective and efficient in your training. So again, 15% off from the discount of the deluxe package. You get free shipping. The first 50 get AccuRollers, which is a really cool tool that we actually all tend to use here in the office a lot. And with all that said, I'd love to jump into the Q&A portion. Cool. So I hope you guys really enjoyed today as far as all that goes. And then we've kind of been digging through the questions here. And again, if you guys have some more questions, please keep sending them in. So we're going to answer as many as we got. We know we got a lot of questions for Evan through the process. And he had to jump off. He's got a lot going on, right? He's probably in game 100. I'm trying to think where they are in the season, but he's up there right now, but he's got a lot going on. So we'll take those questions and start to filter them back to them. And hopefully we could send out an email to all you guys on it and get you some answers to some of the questions that relate to, his background and kind of what was going on. But we'll start out with a couple of the questions that I got here. One of the questions was, why is it 9 weeks long? Well, the Exos' methodology, that's really kind of where they base this off of. So from an off-season program, they go through 3 phases of a program, and each one of them is 3 weeks long. So that gives you the 9-week program right there, and it really kind of sets you a foundational approach to what you're trying to do and gives you really good strict guidelines. So if you have any more questions about that, we'd love to answer them, but that's the reason for the 9 weeks. Number 2 is, how do I measure my results? So how do you know if you're getting actual benefits from the program? There are checkpoints throughout the program that really shows you if you're increasing, which we hope you're doing, increasing, your metrics that you're trying to increase there. So you'll start out, you get a baseline off that when the program starts, and then I believe it's 3 weeks, you'll be checking your results. And at the end, you'll be able to look and see, okay, I've actually gained this, this much, in this metric, and then on this side, I gained this much. So you'll be able to kind of actually see what you've done. And then another question I got from Jose was, does this come with DVDs? No, this is not a DVD program. This is actually a digital program that you can log on to your computer, your iPhone, your iPad, and be able to do this kind of anywhere. And we were joking about this the other day. I was like, now you can get Wi-Fi on a plane. We wouldn't hope you'd want to do this on a plane. But, you've got the opportunity to pretty much train anywhere. So that is really kind of interesting in the sense that, we can start to fill that gap a little bit. I feel like, I didn't mention it in here, but I'm a parent at this point. I got an 11-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, and a 5-year-old son. And one of the questions on here was, would you recommend this for a 9-year-old or would you recommend this for a 12-year-old pitcher? I think that it fits in certain instances for everybody. I think that it's very specific for the age group that we want to look at and be training like that, right? But I think there's the ability to take some of that out and really start to educate younger players and parents. I believe that, as a parent, it's your opportunity to go out and educate your kids in the most effective way and give them the tools and the assets they need to be really, really effective with what they're doing. So I would say, this is a program that fits into a lot of regiments for a lot of players. So let me kind of jump in again. We'll look through some of the questions here. One of the questions, Michael said, how soon is too soon for youth players to start a program like this? I have 2 boys that are 7 and 11. I would say the 11-year-old is definitely on the cusp of definitely getting some benefit out of this. Again, we talked about it with Evan. You're training earlier, right? And definitely the schedules and the just the environment of training academy based baseball and the ability to play all year long. Now your body needs to be prepared to be doing that, and if you're not doing that, you're already at a disadvantage and you're setting yourself up for injury. There's always got to be a rest period involved in there, but the ability to train in a very strategic way is positive. So I would say 7-year-old maybe a little young for this one. But your 11-year-old is definitely somebody that would get some benefit from this, early on, and just start to build good habits and good work ethic. I know I was essentially 14, and I'll start dating myself pretty fast here. It was 1997, I believe, is the first time I really walked into a gym, and I was 14 years old, and I was small, and I was 5'9", 150 pounds, and then 2 years later walked out of high school being 6'1", 205. And it was just the opportunity to get in a gym and really work hard and understand that. So I think setting those precedents is always good. Alex said, should I, as a 12-year-old pitcher, be doing long toss, and how often? I'll tell you this. I think that the baseball world today there's a lot of information floating around. I think over the last 10 years, the ability to aggregate data and to pull in all of these metrics, and everyone was talking about StatCast and those type of things, so you can see how long it takes the center fielder to track down a baseball in the gap now, and what's his top speed and all these things. I think there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of viewpoints that everybody has, and I don't want to get into the the in-depth portions of that, but I think throwing is always a good positive thing, right? Getting on a mound is I've always heard that's a breaking down process, in the sense of it's an angular standpoint and you're breaking down, but throwing on flat ground is something that you can do a lot, and building arm strength is something you can do all the time. So I would say, hey, get outside and throw. Make sure that you're getting out there. If you're playing a lot, you're throwing a lot. Make sure that you're getting your flat ground work in and stretching it out, man. I know long toss for me, again, very centralized answer, but long toss for me, when I started really long tossing, I was later in high school, and it really changed my game. I was a 87 to 88 mile an hour pitcher, and by the time I graduated college, I was somewhere in the 92 to 95 range, and I could run it up to 96 pretty routinely. And I think a lot of that had to do with the long toss program, because you're teaching your body how to do something differently. You're putting some stressors on there and really kind of pushing yourself. So I think long toss programs are great. So hopefully I gave you a bit of insight right there from a personal perspective. But let me see. Let me jump into another. What was your career like in high school, college, and how did it attack hitters from a pitcher's perspective? These are pretty great questions in the essence of I'm 33 years old right now. I've been on baseball for a couple of years, and my brother is college. Well, he's actually going into college right now. He's a quarterback in college. So he's 20. I'm 33. We got a 13-year gap here, and we're really starting to talk, more specifically about the nuances of pitching and attacking hitters and those types of things. In my high school career, from my standpoint, was definitely lackluster on the pitching side. I played second base. I was telling you guys earlier, I played at a really amazing high school that produced a lot of guys and is still producing just a ton of guys. And it was an awesome place. And then I got into college and got to work with Mike Bianco and Todd Butler, who are, have had really amazing careers in college, and really got to learn the nuances of pitching and what you need to do, and as you grow as a pitcher, and as you grow as a, as an athlete, your body starts to develop. So it gives you better tools and better opportunities to execute more efficiently, right? I'll tell you the one thing, even if you're throwing 95 at a certain level, guys are going to be able to turn that around. It's about locating. It's about being able to be consistent in your mechanics and repeat those deliveries over and over and over. So, from an attacking hitter standpoint, I always think, number one, right, strike one is probably the most important pitch. It's the pitch that either puts you an advantage or a disadvantage against the hitter and changes the whole complexity of the at-bat, right? So going into that, I'd say I really want to make sure that, from that perspective and not get too deep into the theories of pitching, which I could probably talk about all day, is the essence is it's like, make sure you're just getting ahead in the count, right? Get ahead in the count and make sure that you can get to your secondary pitches and really execute those efficiently. You can throw them in multiple counts and really make sure that you're aggressive in the strike zone. So I think that's a good one. I'd say our number two, I got a question from Jordan. Are you answering questions in chat or via audio? We're definitely answering in the chat room. So as you go in, you're clicking the button that's got the question mark on it, and it's going to upload into the chat. So let's make sure that you're going through that, and we'll answer those questions from an audio standpoint. So let's dig into some more here. Do you find yourself, John, changing your batting? Let me see. I moved the question there. Are you finding yourself changing your batting stance or swing as a much younger player? And what do you find out? That's for Evan. So with the questions that we see for Evan, there was probably 10 or 15 there. We're going to take those. We're going to put them in an email to Evan. I'm going to send them over. So give us a couple days and we'll try to get answers back on all those, because I think these are really pertinent questions that are really, really cool. So we'll definitely jump into those. I would say, let's see, what's been your tool or drill that's creating bat speed? Bat speed has been a big conversation around here for us over the last year, right? I think that we got in and we said, bat speed, swing speed translate into better exit velocity, right? So exit velocity is what everybody's really looking at. We built a program over the last year with a lot of folks, and we saw ammo bats come to life, right? So that's a program that's outside of Baseball Strong. But excuse me, let me get a sip of water here. That we developed outside of Baseball Strong. So how we look at what we're doing here from this perspective is Baseball Strong is a foundational program for us here at Skills. It's not a skill set program, right? So it's not going to teach you how to hit a fastball better or teach you to throw 95. What it's going to do is prepare your body to be ready to start getting on the baseball field and be efficient with what you're doing. Now, on top of that, we're going to come out with skill set programs and programs that really develop the skill set that you need to be good on a baseball field, such as ammo bats, which talks about bat velocity and really generating bat speed. And then secondly, we'll be developing out some pitching programs in the future that really talk about how to utilize arm strength to generate more velocity and just to have better arm health care, right? I mean, we all know what's going on from the Tommy John perspective in the world, and how do we start to talk about that from a different viewpoint or from a more elevated viewpoint? We can start educating parents and coaches and ourselves on what's going on in the marketplace, and how do we start to have an effect on that and really start to get people more in line with what they can do to protect themselves. But Greg, I got a question for you. How did you prep to move from high school to college? Man, I think that Evan talked about it too, right? The jump from every level is different. A lot of it just comes into work ethic at that point. I think that that's one of the things that you start to see that separates guys from level to level, right? Because at a certain level, everybody's just as talented as you are, right? So everybody's got in college, average fastball is 86, right? Everybody's 86 to 88 in college. And then you got a couple guys who are 90, 92, but then you get to pro ball and everybody's 90 and 92, and you got a couple guys that are 93, 95, and so on and so forth, right? But the biggest difference between those is I had to learn, and I think that majority of guys will tell you this, that transition from high school to college pro ball. You've got to learn what the work ethic is and what you have to do, and putting in the hours to really get that work in, right? Because in high school, right, you got the ability, you go into class, it's fun and games, and there's always that stat that everybody talks about that 1% of high school guys going to play college, and then 2% of college guys going to pro ball, and so on and so forth. And the difference maker, I think, between all that is you got to mentally prepare yourself to put the work in, even when it's cold or even when it's hot or even when it's Christmas morning, and you get up. And I came from a military family, and it's the ability to from that standpoint, I came from a military family, and there's the ability not to have a day off. I had a great father who's really constructive in those senses. And we built our own program, right? And we really built our own thing. And I think that Baseball Strong starts to fill that gap, right? So from that standpoint, we have the mental standpoint. And then from that standpoint, kind of moving on, we've got a program for you that can start to fill those gaps on the physiological side. So next question, Steve, is the strong program something you would incorporate into your existing workout regime or replace, and is recommended daily or every other day, a couple times a week? So the program is something that I think can stand on its own, but it's also something that you can put into to incorporate into your existing program. This is very specific. So when we sat down with Exos, we started sitting down with all the big league guys and said, what are you guys doing that's really, working for you? And this is what, everything was kind of thrown into a cauldron there and kind of brewed it together. And this is what came out of that. So it's a 9-week program. It's 3 times a week, and there's days off in between those, right? So you're getting your recovery, days off there to really recoup, but the days, the 3 days a week are really driving you, right? And it's very, very specific to baseball players of what they need, built around power, strength, and speed. So it's there. It's built in a very concise way to make sure that you're getting everything out that you need to be able to get on the baseball field and be, healthy and be effective and really drive on those 3 pillars of, power, strength, and speed. So to answer your question, just to preface that again and kind of reiterate, is 9 weeks long, 3 times a week. What is that? I think it's 30-minute sessions every day. So it's not anything that's going to take you, 2 hours to complete. I know that's one of the banes of every guy's existence who's in pro ball, that you're getting to the field and you're just there all day. You got to take ground balls, you got to run around, you got to do all the other things that you need to be doing. But 30 minutes, right? So it's really concrete, it's really concise, and it really drives the message home pretty fast. But we want to reiterate just really quick that if you do have the opportunity to purchase this today, there's a 15% discount on the program. And it ends tonight at midnight. So make sure you guys are jumping in. And again, the first 50 who order get a free AccuRoller. So I'll tell you, man, I'm using that thing multiple times a day at my desk or running around, and it's pretty solid. So we'll jump into another. Vincent, we see my son is 8 and is already switch hitting. What drills or techniques should be used to balance on both sides of the plate? Wow. So, again, mechanics are an interesting rabbit hole we could jump down, right? But I would say working with the big league guys that we work with and being around a lot of good hitters, again, not very many switch hitters, but the mechanics are all really efficient, and they all have a really good understanding of who they are on both sides of the plate, if they are hitting on both sides of the plate. But then, first and foremost, they're sitting on the right side of the plate or left side of the plate. They are really efficient. They understand who they are as a mechanical process to really get the most out of that. So I would say what techniques or drills, you'd want to do the same thing. So T-work for us is one of the big things that we really promote around here. You're never going to get away from T-work, right? So as a younger hitter, you're going to get there and really understand just how to make consistent contact with the ball. As you get a little bit older, you want to start learning more about plate coverage and where to contact the ball in relationship to the plate and what your bat path needs to be to get there, and from the timing perspective. And as you get older, you get to college, you get to the big leagues, and probably at the end of high school too, you're definitely going to have a pretty good solid plan and understanding of who you are as a hitter and what you should be working on, right? So, I think once Evan, and I don't want to put words into Evan's mouth, I think once Evan told us that, he's power is one of the things that, he's really built his career on is generating home runs and RBIs, right? And driving guys in. And that's one of the things he really focuses on to make sure that he gets the proper, the proper T work in to really start working on those things. But I would say, for a young guy, consistent contact on both sides of the plate, just generally getting them to understand who they are and how their body works is one of the, I'd say one of the fundamental portions of starting to build that program. But Jackson, I see a question from Jackson. I am also a pitcher. How long after season end should I wait and let my arm rest before I go back to bullpens or flat grounds? Again, from personal experience, coming out of pro ball, right? So depending on what level you are, and if you go to instructional ball and those types of things, I would say usually what you see is you see guys get off in September, October, right? You get home. The protocol usually is you don't want to pick up a baseball for, roughly about 6 weeks. You want to let that really regenerate and really start to, regroup from a shoulder perspective and an elbow perspective and stay, that's saying from a throwing perspective, but you want to get back in the weight room. I would always get back in the weight room, and the majority of guys that I played with, we take about a week off of being home and not really doing anything. And then after that, you're getting back in the weight room and start to get your body prepared for the season, because you never want to get too far out of shape, right? From that perspective, and you want to make sure that you're staying, from the running perspective, from the weights perspective, from the stretching perspective. I mean, I did band work every day. Didn't matter if it was in season or off season. I really truly believe band work is something that can really set you up to be healthier, but also build arm strength. But I would say take a couple of weeks off, 6 weeks off, and let that thing regroup. You're going to pick up that baseball. It's not going to feel it's going to feel like you haven't thrown in 2.5 years, but you want to gradually work back in that. So I would start throwing in November and start to get my arm prepared and try to get in the bullpen somewhere at the beginning of January, knowing in spring training in February you're gonna roll back into that. So I'd say that's a good adage, is take some weeks off and really start to just focus on the physical part of things, getting in the weight room and getting prepared. I see Lenny, can the Baseball Strong program be worked during the season as part of the maintenance conditioning, or an off season with fundamental work? Definitely both. I think that this can definitely be a value add in the season. I've seen the 9-week program. We talked about Evans saying that, in season, he's really kind of from a maintenance standpoint, he's not going out trying to build, add weight or really add strength, but really maintain what you did in the off season. So this can definitely sit alone as an off season program, but in season, it can definitely be a maintenance program that you can utilize, before games in the morning, after games at night, get you, a good pump in there and 30 minutes of good hard work. Right. And it also is definitely there to supplement the skill training after practice, right? So at practice, you're getting all of the ground balls you need. You're getting your bullpens in. You're getting your throwing programs in. You're getting your, your tee work in and the things that you really need from the skill set perspective. But, in some instances, some coaches and some programs are really good of giving you that value add in the sense of giving you, the workout programs. And I know at my high school, they were really great about that. They were kind of pushing the envelope pretty early on. And it's really, really neat to kind of see that evolve over time and see the workouts, but in other instances, a lot of players aren't getting that when they need that, just that, that general cardiovascular workout and general, speed and strength portion of it. And the power portion of it. So this is where that program can really supplement the skill set of baseball with actual working out and with something at that can be done pretty much anywhere. You don't need to go to a gym. You can do this at the house, which I think is one of the huge advantages of this. Is now you don't have to go look for a personal trainer outside somewhere. You don't have to ask around. You don't have to end up at Anytime Fitness and kind of sit there and say, what do I do? Right. Well, no, this is really built out for that. It says this is the prescription for you. This is why you should be doing this. And there's reasons why. And these exercises were all chosen specifically for baseball players. And then this is how long you should do them. And, I think the cool thing is, again, as a dad, my kids were out in California, they're kind of baseball nuts in general. Is, they're always talking about Trout. They're talking about Longoria. They're talking about, we're not far from San Diego, talking about Venable. Who's just been traded to the Rangers, who's such a cool guy in general, but just a hard worker, right? In those essence, they think that it's really neat to kind of see these guys on screen and you're working right alongside them in essence, and you see them sweating, man. This was not an easy program to shoot, and this was not a cakewalk for these guys. I mean, what you see is these guys working hard, and I mean, you see them sweating, you see them breathing hard. This is not something that was filmed in a sterile environment. It's something that was shot in real time, and it was pretty interesting to watch these guys go through it. And I don't want to say struggle, but we're definitely getting something out of it. So everybody can get something out of it. Mike, with a younger player, is it smart to teach the mental approach or let them develop naturally? I definitely think it's both. Right. So everybody in their own senses can develop, right, and really can start to understand the game of baseball, and we talk about this a lot in the office. We have great sessions around here. When I tell you Skills, is an interesting company that's definitely evolving fast. We sit down, and the first question that we ask ourselves is this athlete right? Before we start developing a program, we say, is this athlete right? Is this something that's going to benefit the athlete? And that's been I would say a big paradigm shift over the last year as we really started focusing deeper into who are athletes and what are they doing and why are they doing these things, right? And coming from that world and still being around that world and sitting down with a notebook now instead of a glove and really saying, why are guys doing what they're doing? The mental approach is such a big aspect of that, right? So I think as a parent, and as a coach, that you've got to let these guys develop into who they are, because everybody's different, right? Every skill set's different. We got one guy is 6'1", 200 pounds, and throws 90 miles an hour. You got another guy is 6'8", 285 pounds, and he throws 100. There's all type of different bodies in baseball that do different things, and they all have different skill sets, right? So to develop a mental approach for each guy is imperative to understanding their strengths and their weaknesses and how to help them evolve as a player. But I think there's the general mentality and the fundamentals of baseball they haven't changed, right? I mean, there's things you have to do to be successful at baseball. So teaching the younger player what it is and the mental aspect that we always hear that baseball is a game of failure, and it's tough, man. And you're going through a 162 game season and you got a week stretch there where you're not hitting or you're getting shelled. It's tough, and it's like, am I gonna get a job next week, or am I gonna be, is the coach gonna sit me in college or in high school? Am I gonna get the chance to play? Or if you're in a tournament team aspect, it's a young guy, they can be fragile, and you don't know how to deal with failure just yet. And I think it's helpful there to get them to understand and from that framework and that perspective that baseball is tough. It's a long game for a reason. The seasons are long for a reason because there's a lot of failure involved, and you got to be even keel, and you got to understand that it's not me as a player. In certain instances, sometimes you get bad breaks, right? Or sometimes, you've executed perfectly and you're hitting your spots, and guys are just getting broken bat hits. Or you've been hitting missiles all over the field, and guys are just catching them. We're talking to one of our guys that's going through the Baseball Strong program for it, who's actually a minor leaguer. He's a 5th round pick. His name's Jared Foster. He hit for the cycle the other night. He's in short season with the Angels. Just a stellar athlete. He was a 2-sport athlete at LSU. He was a quarterback and a middle, infielder, second base, and played outfield, and was just like all over the place and just an outstanding athlete. And he got the pro ball, and his first 6 weeks were outstanding. And 2 weeks, his batting average dropped like 40 points. It's like, man, I'm hitting lasers all over the field, but they're ending up in everybody's glove. And it was like, well, you just got to learn to deal with that. But that's why these seasons are so long. So I think the mental approach to baseball is really interesting compared to the other sports. Just because there's the ability to, be streaky, and there's the ability to hit huge slumps. But over the course of a season, it'll average out if you're doing the right things and you're staying with your approach, right? So that's probably my one thing from where I'm sitting today and talking to all these players, like what do they do better than anybody else, and what gets them to the big leagues, and how do they stay there so long? Is they're very even keel. They understand who they are as a player from the mental, from the, the physical aspect of what are their strengths and their weaknesses. And then secondly, they understand what they need to do every day from a consistent standpoint to get the same results over and over and over. And it's something that they are not going to deviate from, right? There's tweaks and there's things that they do to try to get them out of slump, but they're not deviating from their plan. So staying strong mentally is one of the biggest aspects for a young player that I think you can really instill. So let me see. So Eduardo, when's excuse me, let me get a sip of water again, man. I'm sorry about this. All right. Sorry about that. Let me see. Jordan, I know you're a pitcher, but what are some of the jumps a baseball player has to make from high school to college, whether it's from a physical or mental standpoint? I think we touched on that, a second ago. From the mental aspect, it's just learning who you are and what are your strengths and your weaknesses, and how to really compound your strengths. And then from the weakness standpoint, how to really control those things, right? I think that, that's the biggest thing that I see from guys. And I think that, just pays dividends all across the board from every level. It's just like, who are you as a player, understanding that, and not trying to do too much outside of who you are, right? If you're not going to drop 25 home runs a year, it's probably not the best thing to go out there and be swinging for the fence every time, right? You understand your swing, you know what you can do, and you play to that game. And that's what's great about baseball. In the essence is like everybody has a different skill set, but there's a place for everybody on the field if you can do what you do really consistently. So that's really, really, I think just the essence of that is just make sure that you understand who you are, and just make sure you can compound your strengths and really control your weakness. So Let me see. Got a couple more here. Eduardo, again, I was like, jump back in. Man, you got like a lot of good questions, and I appreciate it. My oldest is at a plateau with his training. How could I get him and any of my other players out of the slump? So don't talk about it as a slump, I would say, right? So slumps is just I'd say is a negative connotation, and I hate kind of hearing the word slump, just in the sense that it says I'm not doing something right, right? So I think it always comes back to training, right? So coming back to training and getting your mindset right. So if that's taking ground balls or fielding, whatever, I think the gym, and I'm saying this from from a standpoint that the gym will clear your mind, right? Getting out of the systematic approach of the skill set of baseball, right? I think getting in there, working out, clearing your mind, working on just being an athlete at a certain point kind of resets the table. So, getting out of the batter's box, getting away from the mound, for a bit, and just kind of resetting who you are, and saying, I'm going to be successful in the long term. I'm just having some issues at this point, be it mechanically or what type of things. Getting in the gym was always a great thing for a lot of guys. And going back to baseball strong, I think that, it's gonna be a place setter for you every night. If you got the ability, you had a rough game or you had a rough couple games, go get in the gym, man. Turn on baseball strong, get you a good sweat pumping, and understand, God, I am a good athlete. These are things I can do outside of that that's not based off of success or failure, right? It's just putting work in, and it's just getting better at the end of the day. So, as an athlete in general. So I think baseball strong is a great opportunity for you to kind of reset the table outside of what you're doing on the field. So, Michael, let me see. Speaking of SoCal Youth Baseball, do you have a team that you coach yourself, like other major league teams like Sweeney or Gonzalez? No, as of right now, I got here about a year ago. I'm in the process of learning the baseball world. I travel a ton and kind of go along that route, but I'm coaching my kids at this point from, they're playing and I'm coaching them. So I'm trying to be a good dad and go out and do that. But, definitely seen a lot of great programs out here. I'm coming from Louisiana where there's a lot of great programs, but I am not. So I'm just here to kind of start to aggregate data across the baseball world and start to bring that into some programs and some cool tools that we're developing now and and in the future. So cool question. Let me see. David, what are some drills that might be used to see or recognize different pitches better? Again, I think that from the skill set perspective, just seeing pitches makes you better, right? I think the more you see, the better you get at recognizing those types of things. I think that, we got some cool products here. I feel that help, accelerate that in the essence, like some of the training balls that we have that are multicolored, writing numbers on them, have players look at the numbers and then trying to pick colors off of that. I think our impact balls are pretty cool. They're two colors, which we get a lot of questions of why they're two colors. Functionally, it's about trying to pick up a hemisphere out of that baseball, is trying to pick up the whole deal. So I'd say that's some of the drills is just getting in there and actually seeing more pitches, right? And then from that essence, integrating different products. So we got another bat speed question in here. I really feel that's one of the things that everybody's looking to generate now, right? So, bat speed is always in essence, and we talked about this earlier in the Q&A section, but bat speed is about, so there's almost two different things, right? So there's bat speed and there's exit velocity speed. So it's how do you transition that back speed into the baseball and then make sure that energy is transferred in the most consistent and efficient way. And then you get a ball that flies much, much further and a much higher velocity. Ammo Bats was that program. So if you guys are looking for something, we really enjoy the Ammo Bat program and the theory it was based off of. It's not philosophy. We're not saying we're going to make you a better hitter. We're saying this is a program that if you utilize, you're going to get benefit out of it. And you're going to increase swing velocity. So if you have any questions about it, shoot us an email and we can answer it a little bit more in depth. But go check it out online on skills.com and you can get a lot of information on what that program does for you from a bat speed perspective. So let me see what else we got. Alex, this is a really great idea. How often we be doing these webinars? Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys. And, we've seen a lot of people stay on here, so we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But hopefully we're going to do this a lot more. We wanted to get an idea if this was something that was good, and people are going to get a lot of feedback. And I think that our definitely our conversations and our topics will change, and we'll be doing a lot more of these in the near future. And, it's just is a great idea for us to really understand what everybody's looking for. And, really starting to educate ourselves more. We're not there every day out in the field like you guys are training, like we used to be. So the more insight we can get from you guys, and the more hopefully we can give, insight to, would be great. I think one of the things that I would love to know about, and I think all of us here would know about, is what type of information are you guys looking for, right? I think these webinars, this is kind of our first shot at it. What do you guys, what would you like to hear? Definitely hit the Q&A, button there and shoot us if it's more about skill set, is it more about hitting, the philosophies behind that and the theories behind being a better hitter, a better pitcher, from a training perspective, what exercises should you be doing? Hopefully we've wrapped that into a pretty good program. We're giving you Baseball Strong, so we answered a lot of those questions. But just in general, I want to know, I think we all want to know, what are some topics you guys would like to discuss? I think it gives us a great forum to just kind of really open it up and just start chatting, right? And that's would be great. As we saw somebody say, quarterly would be great. I would love to do quarterly webinars. I think it would be awesome. And we can have a different topic and just open it up. I think baseball is definitely in a transitional phase, over the last 10 years and been fortunate to be involved in a lot of those. And now people are training different. We can be more educated about what we're doing. And then a lot more baseball is being played, right? So that's one of the bigger things, is now we're dealing with more injuries. We're dealing with more, questions about, how do I generate, people used to say, how do I get a higher batting average, and how do I hit more home runs? Well, now it's like, how do I generate more bat speed, or how do I locate a fastball away in a more efficient way? And, how do I generate more velocity? And what's the, the kinetic chain between all those things, and how does that really work? I think we're all in the learning phase there, and we're all kind of growing together. So, having forums like this really opens it up for questioning and answers. So let me see. Matt, let's see. Looking back at the couple of years you played, what was the biggest reason that led to your inability to consistently throw strikes? And what is the one thing that you would do differently? Knowing what you know now, what would help throw more strikes? That is a great answer. And maybe if you checked my stats online, you saw my strikeout to walk ratio is probably not the best in the world. I was do I want to say this? I was a, lack of a better term, a gun bunny, right? I love to see those big numbers pop up on the radar screen. It was one of the things that I did a lot of closing, and I was a reliever for the most part. And I had the ability to go out for an inning or two and throw the whole kitchen sink out there. And I loved seeing 93, 95, 96 pop up on I felt like validated at that point. And then you get to a certain point, and the strike zone starts to strength, and hitters get better, and they're able to turn that around. So you don't have the advantage of having a fastball that really gets by people at other levels. So I think the ability that if I had the opportunity to go back, and definitely don't have any regrets in that situation at all. I think that I got to a place where I was really happy as a player and said, man, I'm good here. I want to move on and try to do something different, and really got focused on trying to help educate and prepare athletes better for baseball and softball. But looking back on it, what I would do is I would understand more how valuable consistently understanding your mechanics are. I can vividly remember being in situations and being in the middle of a game or an at-bat and almost be in my windup and not feel comfortable there, and understanding something was wrong in the mechanical process. I would go back and I would really start to understand my mechanics from a more specific standpoint of who I am as a player, what are my strengths and my weaknesses, what can I do that helps me be successful over and over and over. And I was pretty streaky. I would have weeks or 2 weeks there where I would just dominate and feel really good. And then 2 weeks later, I'm giving up a 3-spot in an inning, and my ERA would, be out the roof. And look back and say, what's the difference between those 2 weeks in a season? Well, the difference is mechanical, from a mechanical standpoint, and maybe being prepared more in the off season, right? Or just understanding who I am. So I'd say from a very basic standpoint is understand who you are. Make sure you're compounding those strengths. You're really focusing on your strengths and really controlling your weaknesses. And then making sure from a pitching perspective or even from a hitting perspective, knowing your mechanics so well, right? And working with people who can really give you insight and really, prod you on those things and say, hey, this is what I need to do, right? So I think that's something that every player should do early on, is understand who they are as a player and what they need to do to be successful. Let me see. We got a ton of questions coming in here, man. Byron, is this system have the ability to download each session, or does it only have the ability to view? I believe when you log into the system, I want to make sure from a technical side I'm speaking appropriately. You're going to get a code when you buy the program, and you'll be able to log into those systems anytime you want. I don't believe you can download the program to your hard drive or anything like that. This is going to live on our system, but you'll be able to log in anytime you want with your code and be able to watch from any space there. So good question, man. All right. So I want to, before we jump off here, and as we're kind of, we're going to answer as many questions as we can. So we'll keep going, right? We'll stay on here forever, but kind of want to jump into this one. We did a random drawing through this as we're going through the questions, and we had a signed Evan Longoria glove that he did for us, and we're going to give that away. And the glove winner today was Alex Torres. So Alex, if you're on, awesome, man. We need to get some information probably from you later, right, to be able to send this out. But Alex, you just won yourself a 2000 Evan Longoria model glove, game glove that he signed, and you're gonna get a pretty solid program, deal there. So that's pretty awesome, man. Good job. We appreciate you guys being on, and so cool. So we'll definitely touch base with Alex and get his information, and it's cool, man. But I see a couple more questions we're going to answer here. Where is a good place to find a workout regimen if you wanted one to emulate major league players? This is the one. I'll tell you that. And again, this is coming from, I'm going to be a baseball player and I'm going to be a parent. I'm not going to be employed for skills right now. This program here is something that I would give to any player at any stage of their career at that point, and so you're getting the same training that big league guys are getting in the off season. We mentioned it at the end of this, and maybe we passed over it. Maybe it was mentioned pretty quick. Evan is pretty much doing this program, and all the guys that are training at Exos are doing these programs in the off season. So before they leave to go to spring training, they head out to one of the Exos facilities. We have one here at our corporate headquarters where all the combine guys for the NFL come, and we got big league guys that come in after the season. I believe I'm not allowed to mention names, but we got a couple of big league guys that are here rehabbing right now. But the same facility that's pretty much Exos has another facility in Arizona that trains a lot of the big league guys in the off season, and they're running through these exercises. These are the exercises that they're doing, and this program is built with that in mind. It says we want to take the big league approach and we want to bring it to everybody out there, so you don't have to go around and look and figure out what do I need to do. This is being, for lack of a better term, spoon-fed to you. This says this is the program, this is the tools, this is what they're doing, this is how long they're doing it, this is why they're doing it. Go do it. And you're getting the same training that big league guys are getting in the offseason in this program. So we're handing that to you guys. We had I'm very, very fortunate to be at this company and to be involved with something like this and to be able to help bring this to market because it's something that's not out there, right? And I mean, when I tell you this has been validated and critiqued to the nth degree, right? It's built with all that in mind. So definitely, if you guys are looking for a program that's going to meet all those requirements, pick this thing up, start utilizing it, and you're going to see benefit out of it. You're going to see right away that this is not something that's just thrown together as a marketing tool or as something that, is just, kind of hodgepodge put together. Definitely not. There's been so much work, and I can't emphasize that. So much work from trainers with Exos, with big league guys, with our staff coming from where we are. And I'm going to tell you, our staff is built of professional athletes, ex-professional athletes, ex-D1 players from every sport. And we all understand, how important training is to the athlete at every level. And we're not going to put something out there that doesn't speak from the highest level and say, hey, this is something that you should be doing and knowing you shouldn't be doing. This is definitely something you should be doing if you should be training for baseball. So right there. Let me see who else we got. AJ, any good programs for a 9-year-old? I would say you guys are on the cusp of being able to get in this program. You can definitely check it out. It's pretty rigorous, man. I would say for younger guys, it's just more like, body control and understanding who they are as they're growing as being an athlete, right? So again, you and I are kind of in the same boat. I got 8-year-olds at home, and the guy wants to hit all day long and throw and play catch. And I say that's the majority of what we do, and the majority of guys that we talk to outside of this who are in professional baseball or in collegiate baseball. This man just let the guys learn who they are as an athlete and let them evolve and teach them the basics of and the fundamentals of what they need to be doing, right? So here's another question. As a coach and dad, I really want to know skill training ideas, workout ideas, and just how to positively coach a team. Man, that's such a good question, and it's coming from such a good place. Here at Skills, what we're trying to do is we're on the path of being a kind of a all-encompassing company that can give you not only tools to help you be really efficient and effective, but also give you content and ideas on how to effectively educate hopefully everybody in the world. I think that we all come from really good viewpoints, right? I think no concept or philosophy or theory should be discounted without proper vetting on those things. But I think that right now we're definitely in the mindset of developing programs and products that work together to be, a really efficient and effective training program for you guys. So if you go into our website right now, you'll start to see we're starting to build video content for every product that we're starting to launch. So baseball is in this transitional phase that as we build these programs, we're adding drill sets and we're adding content that helps you shorten the information gap of what we saw and what we were trying to do with that product and what big league guys are doing it with it. And now regurgitating that to you guys in a very, one of the words I learned is snackable way. So you can look at it for a minute or two and really start to understand, say, okay, from a skill set perspective, I need to do high T and low T drill. And these are the things those are really working on. And this is how many reps I need to get out. We'll have those coming out towards the holiday season. But we really wanted to focus on setting the foundation first, right? So it says, hey, skill set is something that's always going to be around, and hitting baseballs and catching baseballs and throwing baseballs are the things that you're always going to do in game, right? But if you're not prepared from a physical standpoint to go out and do that effectively and keep yourself healthy over the course of the season, we're already setting yourself up for failure. So that's where Baseball Strong was. So, we launched AMO Bats in January, and it was a bat speed program. And we said, hey, that's kind of a place setter for us to really start getting people in line with what we're trying to do here. But Baseball Strong is really that foundational approach to that. And it says, hey, from a speed, power, and strength perspective, these are the things you need to be doing to make sure that once you start to transition into those skill set programs, that you're ready to go. But like a couple of comments that I think is really cool that we've kind of seen through this, through the chat here is one, somebody said this program is way affordable for what you're getting. And I agree. I think that, as a dad and as an ex-player and actually somebody who gave lessons in the off season, it's expensive, right? It's expensive to go out and get hitting coaches and to get pitching coaches to work on the skill set, but then go get a gym membership and then to walk into a gym and really not know what you should be doing, right? So I think that that's the thing. And you got to go figure out what machines you need to use. With this program from the Baseball Strong, you get all that information first. That's kind of the secret to this, right? Is you're getting really concise methodology from Exos, which please, gosh, go look at Exos, go figure out who they are and understand who they are as a company and why we work so closely with them. It's because it's amazing what these guys are doing from that standpoint. And then we took our tools that we developed here and we said, gosh, these fit so well in that. And we can build a really cool program and give you everything you need to go do this at any venue, in any environment you want, right? You can do it at home, you do it at, wherever you want to do that at. That's your choice, but you can do it off a tablet or you do a phone or a computer. So those types of things is like, this really starts to fill the gap. Now, if you were to go to get all those things and go out and try to find a personal coach and really start to pay for the skill set and the agility portion of all this, it's going to cost you a ton. So now you get 9 weeks of those training and you can use that over and over and over. And now you also get all the tools with it, and you get everything that you really need to really be efficient. And I use those words a lot, efficient and effective with your training without having to go look all these places and start to piecemeal what you got together. So as a coach and as a player and as a parent, it really starts to fill that gap in a very strategic way. So here's one we got is, where's a good place to find a workout? Oh, I think we just hit that one. But I just wanted to make sure that, again, the big league guys are doing this. This is what they're doing. And this is why we built it, because we wanted to take that and give that to everybody. We wanted to make sure in the marketplace, everybody got the opportunity to train like a big league guy, or train at a very high level. So the information that you're getting is being utilized at Exos with all their big league guys. This is why it's built that way. This is why it's 9 weeks long, because it's 3 phases. And we wanted to make sure that you really got something of value for what you're spending your money on. And we wanted to make sure that it was something that everybody could get their hands on. So let's see. Another question. With the use of bands, what are the best way to use these for a hitter or for a pitcher? That's oh gosh, it's one of those questions we could probably go in and spend days on, right? I utilize it, and then I know majority of players are utilizing it to really, open themselves up and prepare their body to start to execute on what they're doing, right? So from a pregame perspective, you're using bands, you're using these other types of things to really, get yourself prepared for the actions that you're fixing to start to do, right? From pitching and throwing perspective, and from that standpoint. Secondly, from a pregame perspective or from a at-home perspective, right? It's about building those muscles and building those tendons up to really be strong, right? And that's really what we talk about in this program is like, here's all the band work you need to be doing. It's really going to focus on the muscles and the areas of the body from a baseball perspective that you're using all the time. So, this program is built on a lot of our tools from the mini bands perspective and from the training cables perspective, and you can do a lot with them, and you got your slides with you and everything, so you can utilize that. But the cool thing about it is the sense is that, it really kind of starts to fill those gaps for you. So I would let the program answer that question for you as opposed to me. Check it out. You're going to get a lot of great exercises that really start to fill those gaps for you. Here's another one. Other than this webinar, are there any coaching conventions or exhibits in SoCal that you would recommend to Little League coaches? I would say there's a lot, right? So there's a lot of places you can kind of go get more information. We're definitely on the path of really starting to develop some things out where we can communicate what we're learning here. One of the cool things about Skills at this point is we just have a lot of stimulus from outside. So we have a lot of coaches, a lot of players, a lot of trainers who are not in this building really reaching out to us, and we're really understanding why they're doing what they're doing. And from that, we start to aggregate it and start to understand from a really concise standpoint what everybody's trying to get at, and then what tools and what products do you need to really effectively do those things. So at this point, I would say what we're trying to do is we're really going out there, and hopefully we can become a hub for that information. I think these webinars will be the things that we do to really start to understand from the marketplace what everybody's looking for. And then secondly, what we're learning on our side, so you guys can get that information without having to go look around all over the place and dig through the internet and the black hole of what goes on there, and see, what is pertinent to what I'm doing, what is, really working out there. And then, how do I get that information, in one location? I think that's where we're going as a company, and hopefully starting to fill those gaps. But I'd say the ABCA show is one that every year that we go to that we really start talking about that. So I'd say stay tuned to our webinars, man, and we'll definitely help fill the gaps. Another one I saw is love the info in the webinar. Lots of helpful information. So really great, man. I'm glad that everybody's really enjoying this, and we really appreciate you guys being involved. Let's see. Another question says, what steps should a college player take to prepare themselves and find a spot professionally aside from producing on the field? We go back to those 5 tools, right? I think that's one of the things that everybody's going to be looking for, right? Kind of back and forth. We've always heard about, 5 o'clock hitters, right? Guys who can take massive amounts of BP, or guys who throw really great bullpens, and can really put on a show and then don't produce in game, right? You don't want to be one of those guys, but I think that's helpful, right? You got to be able to have the skill set to be able to produce on the field. It makes it much easier. And I don't want to get too far into that because I want to put myself in
in a hole here, and somebody said, well, Walt said to go do this. But I really think that it's right. It's developing the skill set, from every space, to be able to, if you're a pitcher, be able to really throw those numbers up there on the radar gun and have the arm strength there and be able to execute your pitches very well and being consistent with those types of things. And from a hitting perspective, being able to do what you do really well. But just being prepared, right? Having the, you always hear the big league body. Everybody's got, we see a guy that's got a big league body. We all know what that means. I mean, you look at a guy, you know who he is. I think the preparation outside of that from the training aspect is something that we discount a whole lot in baseball. And it's just now starting to filter up to the surface that you need those intangibles. I always say intangibles outside of the skill set. You need that foundation of these three pillars that we've really talked about, the speed, the power, and the strength. Those are going to start to set you apart from other guys, right, and give you other opportunities to showcase what you can do on the field. So I think one of this program is something that really kind of helps you start to fill some of those gaps. And if you are doing something, it really starts to compound that. So I think it's really, really cool. Let me see. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit here, and I got a flight to catch within about 3 hours. I'm actually going to do some really cool stuff with some other programs. So I think we're going to cut off some of the questions here. But before you guys get off, again, congratulations to Alex on winning the glove. Really, really excited you guys love the webinar. But I just want to hit on the three things, right, that we talked about today outside of what's inside the program. Is the program is really affordable, right? It's something that you can pick up and get everything you need from the informational set and the tool set to really utilize to really kind of knock this home for you as a player and a parent and a coach. If you don't know what you're doing as a parent, you're really trying to understand. My dad was a football player in college. He didn't know anything about baseball from that perspective, but he knew how to work hard. And we were piecemealing programs together left and right to try to understand. And this was the onset of the internet. And I was running out trying to figure out what to do. With these programs and what we can do with technology in today's day and age, this program, you don't have to look any further. You can go get this program, and it fills that knowledge gap of what big league guys are doing, what professional players are doing to be prepared for their season. It gives you all the tools that you need to really go out there and do those exercises and those movements efficiently. And it gives you something that's entertaining for the most part, right? You're working alongside big league guys. That's what's really cool about this is you've got the ability to watch Evan Longoria sweat on screen and Will Venable sweat on screen and Eric Young Jr. sweat on screen. I mean, that was the coolest part about it. And we did this program. A lot of them in the building did the program before, and it's a workout, man. It's good. It's cool. So I think that those things are things that we can really stand behind and say, this is a good program. It gets everything you need. It's affordable. It's something that really kind of fills that gap. And you can do it from anywhere, right? You can do it on your iPhone. You can do it on your iPad. You can do it on Apple TV. You can do it on your PC or your Mac. You can set this up in your bedroom. You can set it up in your workout facility at your high school. You can, put it in your academy and have kids run through this. It's really neat to be able to do this kind of anywhere you want. And then lastly, with the offers that we kind of got going today, you guys are have the ability, since you got on today's, we got a 15% discount running on this thing till midnight tonight. We've got a couple more Accu rollers we can give away. So if you're looking for a value add and you're looking for an extra product, jump in there and pick this thing up now. You're going to get an Accu roller. So don't let that pass you by, because it's a really cool product in that sense. And then you're getting about $80 left in your pocket at the end of the day if you order today. So I'd say if you're sitting on the fence, pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed. I'm really adamant about that, and that's coming from a baseball player's perspective. That's not coming from the Diamond category manager's perspective. I think that you'd really enjoy it. You're going to get a lot out of it. So again, everybody, thank you guys so much for being involved in this. We're going to take the questions that you gave to Evan. We're going to send those over, and hopefully we can get an answer in the future. And then hopefully we can do a lot of these webinars and really get a back and forth between you guys and really answer some questions that you guys have. And then hopefully get us a lot of insight of what's going on there in the world. So again, thank you guys so much. You guys have a great rest of your week, and keep training hard. Appreciate it. Thank you guys.